Tilly hugs a tree. Book says see you later. And we've got a Trill Symbiont on board. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Today we have a very special guest, Miss Eve England, our associate producer from Wales, Nebraska.
Hey,
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of the brand new episode of Discovery, Season 3, Episode 3, called People of Earth, directed by Jonathan Frakes, who apparently suddenly loves lens flare. I don't know if you noticed all the lens flare on the bridge, but that came out of nowhere.
I didn't pay attention. I didn't notice the lens flares.
Yeah, his middle name is James. He's JJ Frakes.
Okay.
That's all I got. Sorry.
I won't doubt you on that.
Yeah.
I see Eve has her shirt on. She's ready to go. She's got the appropriate shirt to match the occasion.
I have, yeah. All set.
Is Discovery your favorite series, Eve?
I think it's definitely my favorite new one.
Okay.
Still, obviously, Deep Space Nine is still my favorite, but I have to say that some of the directions of this new Discovery is really exciting, actually. And obviously, we've had a few nods to Deep Space Nine today, so I think out of the new one, I'm really, really pleased so far with this how Discovery and where it's going.
Let's hear the nods to Deep Space Nine first of all, shall we?
Yeah, so
there were nods to Deep Space
I know.
Nine?
I'm like, I'm kind of embarrassed to say I didn't catch them.
So, well, no, I mean, I suppose it was the Trills and the
okay.
Yeah, so the more big ones, yeah, nothing sort of more sort of Easter eggy than that, really.
Okay. Yeah, there are a couple really cool new concepts in this episode. Number one is the big overall thing of the burn. I remember thinking they're going to go into the future, and how is their ship going to be worth anything if they're 900 years outdated? They're going to get blown up. But the burn kind of equalizes everything to where, okay, maybe the ship doesn't have the weapons that everybody else has, but people have stopped really improving weapons nearly as fast as they would if they would before the burn, because the burn kind of stopped and halted everything. And now Earth is kind of like a lone wolf and kind of isolationist, which is a really cool it's a really cool premise, and I think that it totally works. And I'm interested to know kind of like the mythology and the lore of the last 900 years that led up to where they are right now. And I also think it's really cool that we have a Trill on board. Those are the two most exciting things to me, I think.
Yeah. Some of the things that I'm confused about is when something that you mentioned just now, which is the technology. I'm a little bit confused about the technologies and the two technologies. For example, Discovery is fired upon by these other ships in this, and that takes away their shields like in one hit, right? They have no more shields.
Right. Which honestly it should, because if, like I've said before, if one of our current Navy ships goes up in a battle against a 900-year-old Navy ship, it's going to blow it out of the water in an instant. And technology's rate of improvement increases exponentially. So 900 years from now, there will be a bigger improvement than there has been over the last 900 years, for example. So they should have technology that can just obliterate anything from 900 years prior. But we'll take blown shields. We'll accept that.
Yeah, and then not just blown shields, but like I also think about, for example, when they started to beam aboard the ship, and also if other ships would be able to scan their dilithium a lot easier, because they're like, oh, we're gonna hide the dilithium inside of Book's ship and then put it in the bay, in the docking bay. And
yeah,
I'm thinking,
that confused me too.
I'm like, well, isn't the technology available to scan the whole thing and find out where the dilithium is being hit? That's my own little.
Eve, what do you think if in the year 2379, for example, they could scan easily dilithium on a ship? Could they presumably also scan dilithium on a ship in the year 3188?
Well, the reason I thought that they managed to get away with it is because didn't Book's ship have, when he had the shield on, didn't that sort of mask all of the insides of it? So I assumed it was because he had some sort of technology on his ship that blocked it out and meant that they couldn't scan it properly. But
right.
I don't know that's why.
Grudge was remodulating the shield calibrations.
Yeah, exactly.
Grudge is the cat, Cirroc.
Oh, that's okay.
That Grudge.
Let me write that down. Grudge the cat.
Who he reminds us is a queen. You were saying, Eve?
I was just going to say, I just really hope that Grudge, there's more to him than just being, or she, to being a cat, and that the reference to the queen is something else. I just really hope there's sort of a Captain Marvel sort of thing going on there.
Oh, Captain Marvel, like where she turned into some crazy alien that eats people.
Yeah, I would just love that. But I mean, she's a super amazing cat anyway. Without that, but I just think that would be funny.
I think Grudge eventually later on becomes Ta'ana in Lower Decks.
Backwards in time
through this reverse time travel.
Who then becomes Emrys, who's in the animated series. That's a Cation.
Yes, exactly.
Well, let's talk about just this whole episode, kind of bit by bit here. We do meet somebody named Wen. He might be a one-off guy. We also meet Captain Ndoye. I don't think she's going to be a one-off person. I think, they might at the very least say their goodbyes tomorrow and be like, I'm sorry that I yelled at you. I'm sorry too. And you're welcome back anytime or something like that, But we did have a couple interesting characters. I thought it was very mean of Giorgio to attack Wen and rip off his helmet, because my first thought was, what if he needs that helmet to breathe? We don't know. Like if you did that to a Breen, supposedly they would suffocate and die. If you did that to a human out on any planet that doesn't happen to be M-class, then they would die. So what if she did that and then he's like, you just killed me. You're mean.
Yeah, I have to say that was probably for me the weakest part of this episode was that little bit there, because it felt to me that they were doing it just sort of to move to make that point of how Earth were behaving and to get Starfleet to come in and sort of save the day, to get them talking rather than fighting. But yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, yeah, she didn't know anything about. She didn't she obviously didn't know he was going to be human. But then I suppose she's very reckless and doesn't really care. So
that's kind of her thing.
It's kind of her character. So
that is kind of her thing. But I like the line she gave, which is diplomacy is so slow. I like that line because there is a little bit of a slowness in diplomacy and waiting for things to get worked out, properly handled. But she really cuts to the chase. But it's weird though, because Giorgio, I don't know about how you guys feel. I just feel she's lost a little bit of her power or her persona because she no longer is part of the Section 31 crew, and she seems a little bit out of place to me.
I kind of get the sense that she is. I think in this, I think you're right. She certainly didn't have the sort of same gravitas that she's had previously. I got the sense though that the way she was sort of goading at Michael and sort of really trying to emphasize the fact that she's no longer real, full on Starfleet that she was before. And now I just felt that she was almost had this sort of, devil on the shoulder kind of character. And I wonder whether they might start using that and having that conflict between Michael, Giorgio and Saru as well, as the new captain, whether she might try to get a bit of I don't know, tension and friction going on between those three. That's a kind of where I felt they might have been going with that, because she just seemed to be just little snidey comments all the way through, which was, of course, quite interesting.
Snide, that's a good word for it.
Mm.
I too feel like Georgiou is out of place on this series, not just in the ship. I feel like she doesn't belong on the ship or the series. And they keep looking for ways to involve her in it. But I think there's obviously going to be a reason that reveals itself later. Like her storyline is going to work with the show at some point in this season. And right now they're just kind of putting her in because, for whatever the end result is. Usually when there's a character, we don't really know why they're there or exactly what's going on. We kind of find out later. It all kind of comes together, whether it's in one of the short treks and then we find out that character's included later, or whether it's a character like Georgiou where you're like, what's her deal? Why is she here? So I have confidence that it will make sense later. But for now, yeah, she does kind of seem like, why don't they just say, here's a couch, here's some quarters, relax, take a load off, stay away from this senior staff. We got stuff to do.
Because she undermines like the whole chain of command. She's like, she's basically she's the self-appointed admiral in this episode, right? Yeah. So I think where the admirals are. You like that one, Eve?
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Yeah. The arrogance, brilliant. I love the arrogance. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. But she undermines Saru's leadership abilities, right? So it's like, and then she's so rogue. She's like, she does whatever she wants. She's nobody can tell her what to do or where to go or what to be or how to behave. So it's a little bit like she's the. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. What's the main character from Lower Decks?
Oh yeah, Beckett Mariner.
Mariner. She's almost the Mariner of Discovery.
Yeah, but Mariner actually went to Starfleet Academy and holds a rank of ensign, whereas Georgiou was just escaped from the mirror universe, and I don't even know why she would have any kind of rank at all. She just got like carte blanche to do whatever she wants. They're like, you want to tell people what to do? Go for it. You want to go on missions? Go for it. You want to take a nap? Hey, you do whatever you want, Georgiou, because we're afraid of you.
Basically, and that's exactly what I feel. Especially during the moment where Saru was kind of, contemplating what to do. Should he fire her and should he not fire? And, should he chase after Burnham, who's got all the dilithium in the ship? And he's making that kind of process as a captain would, like, what's the right thing to do here? And she's in his ear, like, don't you know what Burnham's trying to do? She's got a plan and this and that. And I'm like, would she just shut up and let me think over here? Let me try to figure out what's going on. So it's kind of weird having her around. She's not really the greatest fit, in my opinion. But I do like the development of the other characters on the show. I really like Stamets in this one. And I like Tilly a lot in this one as well.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think Captain Sisko would do about Georgiou if he were in Saru's place? Do you think he would say, okay, I'll thank you for telling me. I'll listen to that.
Yeah, I think he would have Major Kira kick her ass. I think there would be a huge fight scene between Kira and Georgiou. Guaranteed.
Wow.
That'd be good. Yeah.
But yeah, I did want to also say, like, I feel like the ship is kind of bottom heavy. I mentioned this once or twice before in other shows, but I feel like Saru doesn't have anybody. He has there's Michael Burnham, who doesn't even necessarily want to be there and isn't even 100% sure if she's Starfleet anymore, or even if there is Starfleet. And that's his first officer. That's his own first officer is kind of like, I'm not even really sure if I want to be here or whatever. And then after that, he's got a chief engineer that's off doing his own thing. He has Ensign Tilly. He needs a couple lieutenants. Like this poor guy is scraping the bottom of the barrel right now. Like, so they probably do have these lieutenants roaming around, like Reese and Bryce, as you can see them in the pictures. But then I'd like to see them developed a little more, and Detmer as well, so that, you know, like where they come in on a senior staff meeting and offer their expertise in something. Because otherwise, this poor Saru, that's why he's listening to Giorgio, is because he doesn't have anybody else. Everybody else is dead. This poor guy.
Yeah. How are you able to determine who the senior staff is with those uniforms? I mean, how do you know who's a lieutenant and not?
You know, they've got like stripes on their sleeve or something. I'm trying to remember. I just know it just from being a nerd and from like knowing their names. Like I know that's Ensign Tilly, I believe Bryce and Detmer and Awasakan and Reese are lieutenants. I think Nilsson is also, I think they're all lieutenants of varying degrees except for Tilly. Do you know, Eve?
No, I mean, I've always wondered that. It's not very clear, is it? There probably is something. Yeah. It's not as obvious as the pips, is it?
Yeah, the pips or the color designation. Yeah, the color was really easy for me. Okay, he's a science officer. He's operations guy. It was easier for me to identify who was who with the colors. But now with these uniforms, it's really difficult for me.
So I'm looking it up on IMDb, and yeah, all 5 of the ones I mentioned are all lieutenants. Detmer, Reese, Awasakan, Bryce, and Nilsson. All 5 of them are lieutenants, not junior grade, not lieutenant commander, but just straight up lieutenants. So it'd be great if 1 or 2 of them kind of established themselves or were established as a little bit above the others and became part of like the senior staff in some way. But I guess they're not really there. They're kind of in a go, go, go mode and not in a talk, talk, talk mode, which makes Giorgio happy.
Tilly's a lieutenant as well, or no?
No, she's an ensign.
She's an ensign, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the ensign is leading here. Did you like the visit to Earth?
I'll let Eve answer that one.
Oh.
Did you like Earth?
I mean, I was wondering how that tree was still there, because I thought it should have been a sequoia or something, which does live for thousands of years. I don't know what type of tree it was, but it seemed to be that 1,000. There's not many trees that live to be 1,000 years old and look that healthy as well. I was thinking.
Well, maybe in the future they give it really, really good, like miracle grow stuff that, you know, makes it live forever. I did kind of do that mental math real quick too. I was like, well, sequoias can live up to like 5,000 years or something crazy like that. This was not a sequoia. I don't know what it was. Maybe an oak or something. I don't know. But I'm not a treeologist, as the French say. So what do I know?
Is that what the French say? Treeologist.
They do.
I actually thought the same thing. It's funny how we all kind of it's a real passing thought, so it's nothing that I'm going to spend too much time on. But when they say it's a 900-year-old tree, you're thinking to yourself, really? I mean, it was big at the base, so it looked like a redwood in the size of the base of it. So it actually made me think, where did they film that little piece? If that's green screen or if that was actually on location. Those kinds of thoughts were going through my head.
What I did like though, I did like to see because I was at the start where they were just on the the view looking down, and I don't think you could see the Golden Gate Bridge from there.
Love that stuff.
I liked how they finished with that, and I just thought, how is that still there? It's gone through so much, and it was just, I like the fact that the whole hope theme was really sort of shown by the fact that bridge is still there 1,000 years later.
Yeah.
I quite like that. Was quite nice. I like that.
I like that throughout every single Armageddon type movie, the Golden Gate Bridge gets destroyed, but it gets rebuilt every time. we hang in there in San Francisco. No, I really like that kind of stuff. I know that's complete, just like fan service stuff, but like I love that stuff. I love it when they zoom out. We're like, come on, show us a futuristic city. Show us Starfleet Academy or Starfleet headquarters. I believe headquarters is in Paris, and Starfleet Academy is in San Francisco. But yeah, it's so cool to see the Golden Gate Bridge and to see exactly where in San Francisco they are in that little peninsula. I love that stuff. I thought that was great too.
Now, I also have another question for you guys. You maybe can help me answer this one. This Spore drive, what does it do and how does it work?
Well, book can tell you that it spins.
Okay.
Right?
I saw that part. Yeah, I did see that.
That was his line. He's like, you didn't tell me it spins or something like that. Eve, would you like to take this one?
It uses mushrooms.
Okay. All right.
It's just magic. I think it's just magic.
It's a mycelial network, obviously, you guys. And the mycelial network is connected throughout the universe. And this is the only ship that is able to use it because they found a giant tardigrade floating around, I think it was, and they called it Fluffy or Susie or something like that. No, Ripper. No, it wasn't a sweet name. It was Ripper. And somehow Ripper showed them how to use the Spore drive through the mycelial network, and they were only able to control it when Paul Stamets, the chief engineer, hooked it up into his forearms, and voila, it's pretty obvious once you think about it.
Oh, I mean, is that all? The question that I really have, I guess, is it a system that powers the ship? Is the ship powered by it? Is it like a warp core?
No, yeah, it's like a warp core in that it propels or transports or kind of teleports the ship, really, I think is the best way to describe it. It kind of teleports the ship, and so then the ship kind of goes but yeah, so I don't think it powers the ship's systems, but it does teleport it. It does handle its movement, but it also has its own regular propulsion drives as well.
Okay, so would the Spore drive be a replacement to the warp core? So would it be the fix to them not having dilithium? Would it be the thing that you can say, all right, we don't have dilithium, but we have these Spore drives and we can power our ships with it? Is that the idea?
Right.
Yeah, it's very convenient, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know if they still have a warp drive as well as, but I don't think so. I think it's just the Spore drive is what they use, which is perfect, because then if the burn happens again, they're like, we're fine. Go ahead and burn away. We're just fine.
And we haven't been privy to what it is that caused all the dilithium to explode, right? They haven't really
That's the mystery, yet. Right? Kind of like season 2, the mystery was the Red Angel. What is the Red Angel? This is kind of what caused the burn. And actually, I'm finding that to be a really interesting mystery. Like I like that. That's more of an interesting mystery to me than the Red Angel thing, because it seems like something that's on a really big scale, and it could have been deliberate. One thing that confused me, and maybe you guys can answer, is that somebody said that it affected mostly Starfleet ships, is what they said. And I was under the impression that it just wiped out all ships that had a running warp drive. And now they're saying it was mostly Starfleet ships. Did I hear that right? I don't really get that.
Yeah, they did say that. The only thing I thought of that was just on the basis that there were more of them and that they were more numerous in terms of warp ships than anyone else. But yeah, they did say that though. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that I had a little bit, I kind of agree with you, Eve, that I thought that just because Starfleet had more ships, that most of the ships would be Starfleet once they all exploded. But I had a confusing thing, because on one end they said all the ships exploded, and then on one end they said that all the dilithium became inert. Or
Yeah.
so I was like, well, is it exploding or is it inert? is it not useful anymore?
Yeah, I
So
had to check. I had to check that with. I said, isn't inert mean that it doesn't react to things? But then they said, because in the prologue, then they said that the dilithium was inert first, though didn't that sort of die out first, and then you had the burn. So then Starfleet was trying to find an alternative to warp travel. They couldn't find, and then they had the burn after. So I don't know whether that was something different or whether that was nothing to do with dilithium or not. I don't think that was very clear. I had sort of. Yeah, we were discussing that earlier, and I couldn't quite work out what they meant.
Yeah, I actually went back to re-listen. I was like, did they say that the dilithium became inert and then blew up? I was like, wait, but again, this is another one of those things that maybe as episodes progress, we'll understand what that means. But yeah, that did kind of almost sound like a contradictory line. But I did find it interesting that just prior to that, as Eve just mentioned, they were trying to find different methods of, or different chemicals or means of travel to replace the dilithium, because that was a source that was running low, which is obviously a metaphor or an allusion to fossil fuels, which we use on Earth. We're trying to find different means of propulsion and things like that, because this is a limited resource. So that was interesting, and so you might assume that once this season's over, it will be kind of like a warning to us right now of like, well, if you guys better get your Priuses, otherwise all fossil fuels are going to explode. So you better watch out.
Didn't you think with that though? I was thinking, oh, maybe the Bajorans have taken over because they can use the solar sails that Sisko. That'll be perfect.
That's true. The other thing that I thought was really convenient was the guy Wen, the alien Wen. It wasn't an alien actually; it was a human.
Right, a tall human.
A tall human with the marshmallow headdress.
He looked like Mantis, Aquaman's evil nemesis.
I was thinking of what's the name? Oh, Daft Punk. He was a future member of Daft Punk. But I was thinking how convenient it is that, because during their little exchange, he was saying something like, well, we have this and you guys have that. And it was like, oh, well, then you have the thing that he needs and they have the thing that you need. And why don't you guys work it out? And it just was a little bit too convenient. And the problem that I have with it is, in the future, you wouldn't necessarily just be separated just because you're geographically separated, the same way that we are all geographically separated at this moment, but still able to communicate. And I feel like using a geographic separation is not enough of an excuse for why information doesn't get shared or technology is not advancing.
Well, they did kind of address that. They did mention how the communications weren't working anymore or something like that. I don't remember the exact explanation, but they did mention that. And about like kind of fixing it quickly, I think it did feel like a very rushed fix. Like in one scene, they go from enemies to, well, join us next time as we save the day again. But for me, I kind of figured that was a very standard Star Trek story. Throughout, especially Next Generation, even the original series a little bit, and Voyager, they like to do that, where it's like they arrive, there's this warring faction, they get caught up in it, then the Enterprise or Captain Picard or Janeway, they come to a solution for both sides, and then executive producer Gene Roddenberry. But it usually works really well because it's developed over 43 minutes. This one, there's so much other stuff. There's a bunch of stuff at the beginning. There's a bunch of stuff at the end. So it was a very condensed story. They had to tell it in, 15 minutes. So I think therein lies the problem of the nuance that is missing in, in this one. I think it would have been nice to have another couple scenes to understand it better so that the payoff worked a little bit better. But I think that's why. It's just because in this serialized form of storytelling, then this little isolated storyline has much less airtime.
Yeah, and I just got the sense, I think what I said, right, I think it to me, that scene just felt like it was trying to get us to a different place. So I think it was trying to show that, Earth had been this isolationist planet for a long time, and that they needed to have that to show them that what they were doing was not going to work, and they needed to sort of reach out and be more accommodating. And this, like I said, it was very classic Trek, wasn't it? Trying to, the Starfleet basically winning the day. So it felt like it was more of an exposition to get us to that point where they might now start working with Earth again. But it did seem, I got the sense it felt quite rushed at the time.
Yeah, I agree. It did feel a little bit rushed. It also felt like it was a little bit absurd that Earth and the people of Earth wouldn't know that this other human wearing a robot helmet, but it's still another human who's got so much in common with you, that you wouldn't know that, that somehow, like I said, these computers are scanning life forms, they're scanning all types of biomatter, they're scanning what's in your cargo, but yet they can't determine that this person is just a human being with a helmet on. That seems like
point. They should be able to tell that's a human, because that's what they always do. They say, I'm scanning 2 life forms, 2 humans or whatever.
Right.
That's a good point. I will say that I thought it was a nice touch that he was super tall, not just so that it's a surprise that it's a human, but also because if he's living on, what is it, Titan?
Titan, yeah.
So that's a lower gravity than us. And then you have a similar idea to what they've explored on The Expanse, which is the people that are living on the lower gravity places, they're taller because they have less gravity pushing them down. So they're taller, they're lankier, their bones fuse less. So that was cool. I don't know if that was done, deliberately, but I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's on a moon. Maybe everybody on the moon is 6.5 feet tall. That's 2 meters, Eve. Actually, 2 meters is 6'7", but whatever, who's counting?
I did like the way that Saru steps into the role of captain in this episode. I mean, I think that's one of the main themes of this was just to make him the captain. Mm-hmm. And I actually like the way Burnham made the gesture of kind of twisting the chair towards him. It was like a really subtle thing, but she kind of took the swirly chair and swirled it a little bit towards his direction. And I thought that was like a nice little subtle way to say, the floor is yours.
Swirly chair.
Yeah, the swirly captain's chair thing. That thing.
Yeah, no, it was nice, and it's nice to see it's our first alien captain, I suppose, for the main shows, which is quite interesting.
The first alien captain, I wrote that down as well. I thought that was kind of a big deal.
Well, now in 3188, he's really not the first. Now he's like the 1,000th or millionth or something. But yeah, he is the first, technically, and that's really cool. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. I also thought that it was nice that we saw, for you Disney fans out there, we saw Wall-E out there fixing the ship. I don't know if you guys noticed the little Wallies outside fixing the ship. He's like,
no, I didn't see the Wallies.
Oh, that was good. He's like, Eve. Oh wait, that was the character's name was Eve, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. I said Eve, wow. And I was like, oh wait, Eve's right there sipping in front of us.
Okay. You know what I took notice of? What was that? It looked like a bulletin board type thing where they had a bunch of the communicators on there. Tilly was arranging them. What was that about?
I think that was a memorial for
that's right.
Crew members who died, because I felt this is very Battlestar Galactica when they were sort of, and I thought that was quite nice. You never really see this in Star Trek, where you have all these people die and everyone just gets on and no one really cares. And I just thought that was sort of quite a nice moment where they actually recognize that these people have actually died after seeing, you know, the war zone or the med room in the last one. I thought that was, yeah. So I thought that was a really good way of doing it with the different badges.
Yeah, I like that too. That was a nice touch. That was Tilly paying respects. I think they are making Tilly out to be kind of the moral compass of the show, kind of like the heart of the show, to where we feel the emotions of the episode through Tilly. She's the representative of, you know, how we're supposed to feel. And she's showing us, look, we've lost a lot of people, and she's adding a new comm badge every day, it seems, you know. It's a sad moment. It's cool, and it's cool to see all those comm badges. Yeah, like Battlestar Galactica. Captain Sisko at one point does have a moment where he's reading over all the dead, but we'll address that in due time, Cirroc.
Aye, Commander.
Yeah, only one eye. We're not pirates.
Oh, okay, all right.
That was a great line. Yeah, well, do you guys have a favorite moment? There are a few for me, but did you guys have a favorite moment that really stood out to you?
I liked it was a moment between Booker and Burnham, and he says something. She says, "We can really use your help," and she shushes him. She's like, "Shush," and I just like, I like the shush moment. I just thought it was like, because you can clearly see that there's something there. I don't know what's there, but there's something there. I feel like he had his shirt off again, you know. So if he takes his shirt off one more time, then they have to do something. That's
the rule.
Yeah,
we know we're gonna see Book again, right? I mean, he's not gone forever. That's why in the opening thing I said, Book says "see you later." He doesn't say goodbye. I also really liked it when he said "bullocks," because I'm like, bullocks. Because, like, we all know that slang does not survive 1,000 years. But if one does, we hope it's bollocks, right?
Yeah.
Eve, did you have a favorite moment?
Yeah, you know, I did like I like the fact that Booker was swearing, and that it just adds that sort of grishness. But I think my favorite bit was...
is that a swear?
Well, bollocks.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like a proper swear word, but it's...
Yeah. It's like darn it.
Saying it, yeah. But I just loved the quote where they talked about cake, and that cake is eternal. That is just the
hummingbird cake? Was it hummingbird?
Yeah.
Yeah, but their bones get stuck in your teeth. I don't know. Is hummingbird cake a real thing, or is that something new?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's sort of like because in my hummingbird bakery cookbook there is a hummingbird cake. Which
you have a hummingbird cake cookbook.
Yeah. They're so cute. What are you doing to these poor guys? They're so cute.
It's carrot cake. It's like a carrot sort of with cream cheese frosting on the top. It's nice. Yeah.
Oh. And that's called hummingbird stuff? Is cream cheese and carrot cake stuff?
Yeah. It's in there. I have to. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's in my cookbook, and I'm sure they call this particular cake a hummingbird cake. I think I could be totally wrong. I have to check now afterwards.
By the way, Cirroc, Eve knows her bakeries, her baked goods. She has she bakes a little like a gingerbread man or a little human biscuit representative for the rugby Six Nations tournament. And when the team loses, she kills or eats
she chops the head off with your head.
Yeah, it's the cutest thing. And so she bakes the biscuit or the little, I don't know what you call them, but you know, it's like a biscuit, a gingerbread man, and she gives them the actual uniform of the team.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this time they've been around for 6 months though, so that I wouldn't eat them now. They look a bit worse for wear.
I would. What do you call them? Are the gingerbread man or biscuits?
Biscuits. Yeah, they're the six biscuits. So 6 Nations. Yeah, 6 biscuits.
Anyway,
We haven't mentioned the Trill. We need to talk more about the Trill.
I think you're right.
yes, ma'am.
And now this Trill does not have spots running down her face, right?
Right, because she is not a Trill. She has a Trill Symbiont in her. So theoretically speaking, I mean, we're assuming she is the first non-Trill to have that symbiont, that parasite, that worm, that slug inside of her. And they're saying that's why possibly why she's having problems accessing the memories of that symbiont, because she's not a Trill. I'm guessing that's not the only reason. I'm guessing they're going to find out that there's a different reason why she can't access it. But there's certainly a mystery and a very interesting story to be told there. Do you guys have any theories?
Well, I'm really hoping. I just got, there was a couple of things where they said that Trills, you know, they can live for sort of so many years. I'm just really hoping that this symbiont goes back to maybe even new Dax possibly, or something like that. That'd be just really interesting. And I just got the sense that like the Tween, what do they call the Tween menace?
Yeah, I'm looking for her name. It's like Adira.
Yeah, and I just think because they said, well, you must have to have knowledge of the old systems and how quickly they did that. So you just think, well, they must be pretty old.
So now her name is Adira Tall, because she has the Tall symbiont in her, just like Dax was the name of the symbiont and Jadzia was the name of the Trill. What do you think of that, Cirroc? Pretty fun, pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I like the way Stamets was really like annoyed by this character. Get your 16-year-old hands off of my console and off of my stuff. I thought I liked that exchange. I also like Stamets kind of finding somebody who was smarter than him, kind of, or as smart as him. So it was a challenge for him. It's like, oh wow, you know all this stuff. I can talk to you in the way, and you know, and freely, and not have to kind of dumb down what I have to say. So I thought that was a nice pairing, the two of them. I did enjoy their interplay. I also liked when Tilly is in the middle of that, and she says something like, I think this character that we're talking about, this Trill character, she says something like, "Wow, this place is like a museum, you know, but everything's still new," right?"
She's like, "Well, Tilly, museums are cool, so whatever."
Yeah, I like that. I like that little line.
Oh, good old Tilly. You guys have any predictions for where this is going to go next episode or throughout the season? I know I asked the tough questions.
Yeah, I could say that I thought there was a moment there. It was the moment where they were negotiating between Wen and the
how.
people of Earth. Yeah. the people of Earth and Wen were in that negotiation scene with Saru, and I felt like they were making this the moment where the Federation is coming back, right? There was like a moment where they're like, okay, this diplomacy, this meeting between these two people at this exact moment is now the budding beginning of the return of the Federation, because we finally found two people that can work together. They have different things that each other needs, and they are human. You already have the basis for the start of the Federation, which would be the United Earth Defense Force, right? So they would have a force. There's already a structure there to kind of piggyback on and kind of rebuild the Federation. So that's where I feel like they're going towards resurrecting the greatness of the Federation.
Interesting. Now, they do have, supposedly, they still have 6 races or 6 star systems in the Federation, or is it in Starfleet? I don't remember which one, but I think it's in the Federation. They haven't told us who that is or what that is yet, or anything like that. Do you have any theories about that, Eve? Any guesses?
Well, obviously, well, I was thinking because someone was saying, I can't remember where I must have read this, but they were saying that on the previous flag there are 3 main stars, big stars, which are I wasn't quite sure what the answer is, but I'm assuming that the Vulcans and Earth were and the humans were 2 of them, but I wasn't sure because we were just having a think about the Romulans and thinking about the current timeline that their homeworld has been destroyed. That would be quite interesting to see if what the sort of fallout of that is in 1,000 years, because I don't know who the third race of aliens would have been the founders of the Federation, but I'm wondering whether that was because there were only 2 on this new flag, which obviously.
Well, the founders of the Federation were 4. It was humans, Andorians, Tellarites, and Vulcans.
Okay.
So maybe it's possible that those 3 are those 4 guys minus the humans.
Yeah.
It's possible it might be Andorians, Tellarites, and Vulcans. Maybe. I really do hope to find out, because that stuff I find to be fascinating. I love the lore of Star Trek. I love the world that they've created. And I hope that they give us the answers to all those questions, because that's really the fun stuff for me.
Yeah, Eve, I think you brought up a really good point that I wanted to mention, and I didn't even write it down, but when you said it, it just sparked that memory. There is a difference between the United Federation of Planets logo that we've traditionally seen and this new improved version that they, wrap the flag with. So I wondered too, myself, what was the significance of them altering it? Is it just like updating the comm badges like they do normally from series to series? I know Voyager had a different comm badge than DS9 and so on and so forth. Or is it something more like what you were describing? Is it about who the alliance is made up of? You brought that point up because it's something that I was thinking when I was watching it.
Yeah, and that's what sort of I was thinking. The fact that they don't have warp capability now just opens so many sort of mysteries, I think. So you've got, the Trill one is interesting because I guess if they can't get across the galaxies, then I suppose the pool of people or Trills or whoever hosts available is going to be limited. I don't know whether that's why, Adira as a human is a host. Then you've got, if Starfleet were all stuck all over different quadrants or different areas, different sections of because they've obviously traveled from the beta quadrant to the alpha quadrant with the Spore drive, but presumably now they just can't get to any of these other places. So I would just like to hear more about what happened, and you can just imagine the chaos with everybody just being stranded where they were at that time. It's such the burn is such an interesting concept, and I just really hope that they really make the most out of that idea and explore it properly, because I just think it's really interesting.
Totally. That's when they first mentioned it, a couple months ago before the season started. What's the burn? And I remember thinking like, I don't care. I just want to know what's going on in the future here. And then when I found out what it was, I'm like, oh, that's even cooler. That's the interesting part. That's the good stuff. So we're just about out of time here. Any final thoughts on it, guys? What do you think?
Yeah, it was really good. It sort of set it up, hasn't it? I think it was really busy. It was really hectic, but we've got a new quadrant, we've got a new captain, we've got a new crew member, and I think for me, I just really hope it's all about discovering what happened to Starfleet and the Federation and trying to bring everything back. So I think it was really good. I think it's a really important episode for setting the scene and setting all of that, bringing everything that we've just seen together, and now we can kick off and go and discover more cool stuff.
Yeah, I think that it was really cool to see Burnham with her braids, kind of a throwback to the old school black girl with braids look, and I just like that. It's just a representation of a cultural thing that's been with us for I don't know how many centuries. But
it grew pretty fast in a year too.
It did grow fast, but I was a little bit not that thrilled that she has lost her enthusiasm for Starfleet, and that she's kind of grown apart from it. And that was kind of one of the aspects of the episode that I wasn't so thrilled about. I thought she would be like exciting and waiting, like, God, I've been waiting for you guys for a year. I've been sitting here arguing with this knucklehead about dilithium, and finally you guys are here, and I've got a whole plan of this is what we have to do. We have to go here first. We have to do this. We have to do that. She mentioned sending a signal out to I forgot the name of it, Terra Elysium.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking maybe she would have more things kind of lined up during the year that she's been waiting for them. Like, this is the course of action. We got to do this, this, and this. But it felt like she was like almost abandoned all that and started a whole new life. And, and now she's looking back like, do I really, almost like I don't know these people a little bit, and I was a little bit taken back by that. But I'm looking forward to seeing where they're going to go. It's still a mystery, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about keeping us in the dark about what's around the corner. It is a mystery, and that's why we're watching the show. We want to find out what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I can get it with Michael. I mean, I feel like after a year of seeing what the universe is like now and knowing that there's no more Federation, there's no more Star, she's like, that ship has sailed. And so she misses her friends and her family, but she's accepted that her career and her life as she knew them were over. But I think that where you're going, Cirroc, is I think that drive is going to come back at some point in this season. She's gonna go back to her roots, and she's gonna be like, all right, I'm back to Team Starfleet. I'm good with it. I think so. Anyway, I think we've done a lot of good today.
Scoot over, Saru. I want my captain's chair back.
He's like, but I thought you said, yeah. But when I said that, I was high on a year of, adventures. Now I'm back.
What is Synthahol? Is it called? It's Synthahol?
Yeah, Synthahol.
Also, really quickly, I want to say that I love your bracelet, Eve. It looks. Is that the famous Malissa bracelet?
It is. It's the Deep Space Nine cuff.
It's let me show that. It is walking art made by Malissa. We include that in the description box below. Also, thank you for reminding us, Cirroc, both of you are drinking from some mugs that are made by Abyssinian Kiosk, which is Cirroc's sister's company. We will include that website in the link below. If you want to get an awesome mug, that design is the Sisko Kid. You can get it on a shirt, you can get it on a mug, you can get it on a motorcycle if you put the mug or the shirt on a motorcycle. But anyway, check it out in the description box of this video. Abyssinian Kiosk and walking art made by Malissa. Great. We got to run. Very special thanks to Admiral Eve England out in Wales, Nebraska. And we also want to give a very special thanks as well to Carmen Shamwell, PJ Thomas, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Tim Baum, Rex A. Wood, and Titus Mohler. Thank you all very much.
Titus.
And always remember the 7th rule.